You're listening to Playboy Radio's Music Spotlight with Tricia Cruz, and I have a special treat for you guys listening. I have a race car driver, one of the best, Sam Barnett, in the house. How are you? Welcome to Playboy.
I'm good, thanks for having me.
And do you always just run around town with rock stars?
Not always.
Not always. Well, he brought us a special treat. He brought in Max Collins from Eve 6. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me. And he does always run around with rock stars. It tries to make me feel like I'm the only one, but I know it's not
Hey,
so.
No,
you saying
he's
I'm cheating on you?
You know, I've heard people whispering, Sam.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
hate to tell you, he's been cheating on you.
You know, I'll deal with it. I'll rise above it.
So let's talk race cars, because some of us listening, we know all about music, but we know nothing about race cars. School us.
Race cars are, like music,
Mm-hmm.
race cars are very emotional. It's a connection between you and a machine.
Right.
Just like music is a connection. And for me, I have a connection to both. I was raised around both. I was raised around music. I was also raised around, cars, not specifically racing, but both. And I was raised that a music education is very important in my family. My brother's a musician. He's actually in a Grammy-winning band. My dad paid for his college in a rock band. So I've been around it, not so much as a performer. I did do it a little bit, but I ended up gravitating towards the cars, but I took it to another level, to the competition, which in my family had never been done. I kind of blazed my own trail there, but really it comes to, there's a feeling that I can only get from music, and there's also a feeling I can only get from racing.
Right. And cars and music go together. Kind of gives you that oomph to drive fast, right? So how did you start driving? I mean, because it's not an easy profession to get into, and it takes a lot of money. So where did you get the money, and how did you get started?
That's a great question. The most common answer to that question would be people get started around 4, 5, 6 years old. Usually their father
Really?
pays to put them in a go-kart.
Okay.
That's usually how it starts.
Okay.
So it usually starts with someone's bank account, usually the father. I didn't have that luxury. I did not even touch a race car till I was 26. So I'm completely the exception to the rule. And I touched a race car for the first time by my own making. No one gave me $1. I wanted it so bad that I had to find a way to do it.
So how did you do it?
I went into the real estate business, actually.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to go to driving school, learn how to do it. So I signed up for a driving school after I'd been in the business about a year and a half. And the reason I took off so quickly in the real estate business is because I knew I wanted to race. And I knew that was my ticket. So I actually moved to Charlotte from Virginia specifically because the real estate market was good, but even more so that there's so much motorsports in Charlotte. And it ended up working out. I was able to get into a car to learn how to drive. But since I didn't have a lot of money, I was still trying to make it my own way. I actually became an instructor within 6 months.
I just read that about you. 6 months. That's unheard of. How did I mean, you must have been working your booty off. How did you do it in such short amount of time?
It's all I thought about.
Really?
From the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, it's racing.
Yeah.
And for me, I love it so much. I want it so bad. I'll find a way. And I read books. I studied. Drove on simulators. Drive my car. Try to follow certain lines, not necessarily at high speeds, but whenever I drive to the grocery store, I follow a specific racing line as close as I can. I try to get as close as I can to the curb, those kinds of things, not unsafely.
Right.
I also, what's known as heel-toe shifting, when you're downshifting a manual transmission, if you just jam it into gear, the engine will rev back up and the car will lurch. So what you have to do is actually press the brake and the gas pedals with one foot at the same time.
Oh, wow.
It's a difficult skill to master, and what I found is I can do that on the street safely. And so I'm actually practicing racing, going to work, going to the store. And so I put all those little pieces together, and I worked really hard in business, and once I was able to combine all those things, I was able to find myself in the seat of a race car. However, in order to get into that race car, I had to build it myself because I didn't even have the money.
Yeah. So how did you go about doing that?
I-
Did you know how to build cars?
I did not, but again, I wanted it so bad I was going to find a way.
Okay.
So I found a $1,000 Mazda Miata, and the most commonly road race class
Right.
in the country is spec Miata.
Okay.
And that's how I got started. And I bought the car.
60% of all race cars, right? Mazda.
2% of
Okay.
all vehicles in the United States are Mazda. So it's a little piece,
Okay.
small. But 60% of every road raced vehicle in North America is a Mazda.
So you knew what you were doing when you picked up that $1,000 Mazda.
I did, but I didn't even have any money to build it yet.
Okay.
So I drove it around for a while on the street,
That was
and I
fun.
practiced that heel toe shifting,
Okay.
you know, and got actually a really good feel for the car. So by the time I finished building it, and I did a barter deal with a friend to put the roll cage in it, that kind of thing, I already had a good feel for the car by the time I drove it, because of, you know, just being on the street safely. But, you know, you get a feel for the corners, the size of the car. And so really that's, out of desperation is really how it happened. And looking back now, I always resented those, you know, people, you know, get into spec Miata, I'll get dinged in the door by a 14-year-old. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't have any concept of money, how much work it took me to get the money to paint that door, because his dad's going to put another door on it as soon as he gets home. And so I would have a resentment against that. But eventually, now, I think I've been able to experience things that those kids wouldn't be able to, because they go home from the racetrack and that's it.
Right.
But now, as part of developing my motorsports program moving further, I have to be creative. And I try to find things that are a fit for me. Music specifically is one of those things. And so I've kind of explored how music could be a fit, some of it by accident actually.
Yeah, I mean, you have a great story about the Offspring. Tell us about that. How did they get involved? How did you even meet them?
Turning that to a motorsports
Yeah.
thing was actually a complete accident.
Okay.
I love a number of bands, and The Offspring is right at the top of that list. I've
Yes.
always loved them. Actually, true story, and I told Noodles from The Offspring this about a week and a half ago. The day I got my driver's license, went to the DMV, Mom came back home with me, and I got to go to school.
Right.
I had that 1984 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z, took that Smash CD from The Offspring, put it in there, turned it on, and backed out of the driveway. I'll never forget that moment. And from that point forward, music drove me the rest of the way. So every day, you know, I listened to music, and that's kind of how it related there. But the way we became connected was last year, The Offspring was doing a concert tour where they were playing Smash from start to finish. And I found out about this, and I was like, this is it. This is my dream right here. Like, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. If I don't see this, I'm going to regret it the rest of my life. And then I went to the tour schedule, and I looked. Atlanta, already done. Tampa, already done. And I was like, I missed it.
Oh, no.
This is horrible. I can't believe this. And then I looked right at the bottom, and there was a festival in Sacramento, California. And they had one more shot. I would have gone anywhere. I would have gone to Antarctica.
Have you ever been to Sacramento before this?
I've driven through it.
Through it, and that was it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was originally born in Reno, Nevada, so to go
Okay.
to, you know,
Yeah.
go to San Francisco or whatever, but I'd never gone specifically to Sacramento, so I flew out with virtually no notice. I didn't care what was going on in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, thank God I didn't have like a wife expecting a baby or
Yeah,
something. I would have left her
exactly.
there.
Or a wife who just wasn't having it.
Well, yeah, I don't know how many people would have this, but so I went to that concert,
Okay.
and that was amazing, and I was so glad I did it.
Yeah.
And also Pennywise, one of my favorite bands.
Oh, amazing band. Yes.
Absolutely. Jim Lindbergh had left the band,
Uh-huh.
and then he came back, and so I was going to get to see them together again, and I was like, it's meant to be. I just knew it. I had a feeling that this is happening for a reason,
Right.
and I need to be a part of
Do you remember
it.
what venue it was in Sacramento?
It was a park. I can't remember exactly which
Okay.
one. It was an outdoor
Outdoor venue.
festival thing. It was really neat. I had a great time.
Probably the Gibson
I'm not sure actually.
Ranch. Okay.
I don't remember. It all happened so fast.
Yeah.
But so I went there, and I came back, and I was like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. And people were like, what are you doing? This is crazy. You just pick up and go. I was like, I'm living my life. You're sitting here in a cubicle from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
When you're on your deathbed, and I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to be like, I did it.
I did
And
it.
you're going to be like, wow, I had
I
a couple
checked
extra
off the
dollars,
bucket
right?
list.
I got my TPS reports in on time, right? So fast forward, this year, I found out the Offspring was playing at the OC Fairgrounds and the Hollywood Palladium.
Yeah.
The last 2 stops on the tour.
Okay.
Well, it just so happened I had a race scheduled at Road Atlanta.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. At the
Well,
same time.
No,
not perfect.
Not perfect.
So I had to make a decision, and it took all of 3 seconds to decide that I was going to skip my race at Road Atlanta.
Really?
I flew out by myself just to see the concert. No other purpose except
Which one? OC or Hollywood?
both.
Okay.
They were back to back.
Okay.
So OC was the first night. I went there. It was really neat. It's, you know, their hometown. You know, they're talking to their classmates from high school in the front row.
Yeah, of
and it was
course.
great. It was more of a laid back kind of easygoing concert for an Offspring concert.
Yeah.
I woke up that morning and I said, you know, Dexter Holland is just one of the most interesting people I've ever heard about. You know, he owns a hot sauce brand. He's flown around the world solo in an airplane. He's got a doctorate in molecular biology.
Yes.
This is the kind of guy that I want to meet. And so I woke up and said, I'm going to meet him. Just like I do sometimes. I just say, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow it just happens. So I emailed K-Rock. Every email address I could find, I just sent out a blast. I was like, maybe someone will
Wow.
respond. Probably not, but maybe. And Jay Tillis, Lightning, with
Yeah. with
K-Rock responded back. Well, it just so happens.
Shout out to K-Rock.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to Jay. Turns out Jay is actually a huge car guy.
Wow.
And he loved my story. And he goes, well, I just happen to have the band manager's phone number. Go ahead and text him. He's expecting your message. And I said, well,
What?
okay, wow, I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. I never thought it would really happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to the venue, and right away, Larry Toll from, the Offspring, he's the manager, and came and found me and brought me right up. He was running around like hyper speed, he's like, very purposeful. And I was like, wow, how cool is this that he's putting an effort in for me? There's so many
Yeah.
people here. And, he made me feel like I mattered. And I talked to Dexter, and actually, typically I think you're supposed to ask them the questions. He was asking me all the questions.
Well,
so you
it's
you
probably
skipped the race.
His dream to race cars his whole life too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I think he was more just kind of surprised that
Yeah.
it's a little different story. People like bands and things like that. But to give up something like that, I love 2 things so much, and sometimes I have
you
to choose
chose
between
them,
them.
yeah.
I did. There's a lot of races, and the racetrack's going to be around forever. But the Offspring will not be around forever.
Right.
And it's something I take into consideration. And so that was a great experience. And so I got home, I was like, wow, how cool was that? I don't want this to end,
Right.
And I started kind of thinking, how could we continue this relationship in some way? And so I was watching some race video, and we put rear cameras on the car sometimes, and we do a lot of bumping
Yeah.
in the class that I run in. And so I was watching where there was a car coming and just bumping the camera car. I'm like, that's kind of neat. Wait a minute.
Light bulb moment.
The Offspring's new single is called Coming For You.
Oh.
Is that not perfect or what for a front bumper? They're probably not going to go for it. They don't need any advertising. Everyone knows who they are. But I was like, well, what do I have to lose? So I
Right.
put some effort into it. I put together a short video and explained why I thought this might be beneficial, just some unique content. And surprisingly enough, they agreed.
That's awesome.
And so we did it. My next race is what it was going to be. It was at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It was my home race, so it was significant there.
How perfect.
Anyway, so I was going to race 2 races,
Yeah.
a double race weekend. And as luck would have it, I won both races.
Yay! With the coming for you.
Yep. And so, true story, I get off the racetrack after the second race that I've won, and I had my cell phone in my pocket, which you're probably not supposed to do, but whatever.
Right.
And my phone is vibrating nonstop, and I'm like, oh, I've overheated the phone. I'm gonna have to reboot it. I'm gonna have to get a new phone. Maybe it got wet. I don't know. And I realized that the Offspring had put a short video with bumping that I had just sent to Larry to say, hey, this is kind of neat. Well, he put the music to it and put it on Facebook. They have 5.4 million followers.
It went viral.
It went viral. It was the top performing video in the history of their Facebook page.
That's amazing.
It was.
Shout out to Offspring. That's such a great story.
Yeah.
I really look up to Dexter, but I have to say this. This is amazing for people listening. This is a lesson right here. If there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So Max, how did you 2 meet?
Sam, it seems like he's want to do, just kind of hit me up, and we were talking about this yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I feel like you know, the universe, to use a slightly obnoxious term, like kind of rewards that sort of willingness to be audacious or just put yourself
Right.
out there. And I sort of, you know, we haven't known each other for very long, but I've kind of respected that part of Sam's kind of, you know, tack immediately.
To go get it.
Yeah. And I don't know. There's a lot of commonalities in the story actually in our stories, even though mine takes a different form. And obviously, you know, I'm a musician and a songwriter and stuff. But you know, my formative years of, you know, being a kid and learning what rock and roll was were spent with my dad driving around, you know, in his 1982 Pontiac Parisienne station wagon, which I later inherited.
Did you race it around the block a couple of times?
That car
Or try
is
to?
pretty much constitutionally incapable of being raced, I think. But you know, and the way that he would qualify kind of a good song
Right.
was he would say, this is a great road song, this is a great driving song. And those songs for us were Cocaine by Eric Clapton,
Yeah.
which he would try when I would sing along to it. He would be like, sing propane.
He didn't want you to say
Don't sing
cocaine.
Wouldn't that be more dangerous?
Yeah, right? Yeah,
I
it
love
kinda
the
would be.
story though. Your
Yeah.
dad's like, this is a driving song.
Yeah.
Cocaine.
It's like, this is
Eric
a great
Clapton.
driving song.
Yeah.
Tom Petty, Running Down a Dream, which is
love
probably,
that
I had
song.
like this spiritual experience hearing
Did
that
you?
song for the first time when I was a kid in that same car with my dad. And as I grew older, even in, you know, to the teenage years, the years where you don't necessarily want to be hanging out with your
With your dad.
folks so much, the way that we bonded was he'd come home from work and he would say, let's go driving and listening to music. And we'd do that listening to Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death by the Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
Ignition, aptly, by The Offspring was a big one. All the Bad Religion records. Later on, you know, the Pixies. And he really just, I'm so grateful for that because so many kids have parents who sort of shake their fingers at them for listening to music that they don't necessarily understand or is unfamiliar to them. And my dad, you know, in this context of driving, in this sort of, you know, cozy little, like, safe sort of zone, we would just, like, drive around the hills of, like, Sun Valley and talk about what was good about this music. So that emotional aspect that Sam was just talking about really resonated with me, and probably because of, you know, those experiences, like a fan favorite for the bands that I am still in, Eve 6, is a song called Open Road Song. And, you know, it's a song, I remember the moment that it was kind of conceived. It was like, you know, midnight or something. I was driving home from Burbank, actually. I was like, I don't know what I was doing. But like, there was just this moment where the line started to kind of come into my head, that almost like inexpressible feeling of freedom that you get when you're behind the wheel and the windows are down, and like there's just like loud primal music playing, and I went home and wrote that song. And so I think that was the impetus for Sam reaching out to me, was, you know, he was thinking, you know, is there a way that song could possibly be tied into his sort of future plans for Mazda and stuff.
For racing, definitely. Yeah. I can see that happening for sure. And you have a new album coming out that you're working on, right?
Yeah, so I'm doing a bunch of kind of different things. I have a single out with this EDM artist called the Pegboard Nerds, that's called Pink Cloud, and came out a couple weeks ago. It debuted at number 2 on the iTunes dance chart.
Yay,
It's doing
that's a
really
big
well.
deal. Yeah.
And so they sent me this track. I wrote the top line and, you know, and sang it as it's, you know, and featured on the song. And then they had the idea to, because the song was made available in October, to tie it into breast cancer awareness. So
Beautiful.
they partnered with Let's F Cancer and Cadence and Cause, and they've raised untold sums of money so far, donating all of their pre-sale proceeds to Let's F Cancer. Or can we curse on this show?
Yeah.
Okay, it's Fuck Cancer. And
Yeah.
they're at Let's F Cancer is their handle. And, you know, they've raised thousands of dollars, and because it was so successful, they were like, screw it, why end this in October? So they're still donating. I mean, this is money that would go straight into their pockets, and
Oh, do they have a social media? What's their
they
handle?
do at Pegboard Nerds.
Okay, you guys hear that? Make sure you donate.
Yep, or is it
And
at the Pegboard Nerds? I should probably check.
I'll
It's
make
either-
sure you guys Google it.
Well, one of the two. And pegboardnerds.com, you can you know figure out how to like get. They have these awesome like headphones that you can. And they're making a Pink Cloud video game also, and they're gonna be like doing some. There's some contest with that too. Like whoever scores the best on the Pink Cloud video game is gonna get something cool. So
Awesome. Well, when
yeah.
you're done with your new album, you're going to have to come back and play some for us, okay?
Yeah.
Is that a promise?
yeah, that's a promise for sure.
So, has Sam let you race any of his cars yet? Have you been in them?
No, not
Not yet?
quite yet, and that's a dangerous idea. Oh, we were talking about this yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Like my wife is the driver in the family. Like we
Okay.
just went on a road trip up to Visalia for Thanksgiving, a short road trip. She drives, like she always drives, because I kind of drive like an old lady. She kind of drives like a
She
drunk
gets there.
16-year-old. Like, I probably shouldn't say that, but no, I mean she's actually a really skilled driver.
Right.
But it's harrowing to like be in the shotgun seat while she's driving.
Got
And I've
it.
had friends, Matthew Coma, you know, who swear that they will never ride in a car with my wife again. Close friends who love my wife and me. So she's the one. I'm curious. I think we are going to do some driving. I'm going to bring her along, and I'll probably do more watching than
And do
driving.
more watching
but
and let her do the driving.
let her do the driving.
I love
but
it.
I think you know I probably will end
So
up giving
Sam,
it away.
what skills does it take to be a great driver?
Well, hand-eye coordination, of course.
Mhm.
You know, natural ability
Mhm.
to be aware of your surroundings.
Okay.
Good vision is very important. You
So
need to
I'm
see what's
out?
going on. If you can correct it with glasses, it's fine. But if you can't see what's going on, it's probably going to end poorly.
Right.
I would focus.
Focus.
Being able to, like I said, be aware of your surroundings.
Mhm.
But you actually have to get beyond that, beyond just looking smoothness. For example, sometimes in life it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
You think you're all the way on the brake or all the way on the gas in life.
Uh-huh.
If you do that in a race car, you're going to be insanely slow.
Oh.
The beauty is in the details beyond
The
an on and off
balance.
switch.
The
That's how you're
nuance.
fast. Absolutely, and it's like that a lot in music.
And in the cars, are you able to listen to music?
No, we're not, because
You're
we're listening to a radio, listening to the crew members give us instructions,
Okay, I get
and
it.
communicating with them as well.
So what advice do you have for up and coming or people who want to race cars? Because, I mean, you did it. You came from no money, you built your own car, and here you are, racing for Mazda.
The easiest way to do it is to be born rich. So if you can do that, you're going to have it made. They say nothing ensures a successful racing career like being born rich.
Oh, really?
If you don't have that luxury, like myself, you need to look at it backwards from what most people do. The thought process that the majority of people have is, if I can just be the fastest driver, I'll get it. They're going to sign me, and I'm going to get millions of dollars, and it's going to be great. That's not how it works. Companies that are in motorsports, they like the racing part. They think it's cool, but it's not their number one priority. Their number one priority is making money.
Making money, yeah.
Right.
It's a business.
It is, and so my suggestion would be to treat it like a business.
Okay.
Find something you're passionate about outside of racing and leverage that to make enough money to get into the
To
racing.
get into racing.
Right.
I love that advice. So, back to the music. What was your first concert you ever went to?
The Dave Matthews Band,
Wow. So what city?
Richmond, Virginia.
How about you, Max?
Pennywise and the Offspring, and it was the Offspring opening for Pennywise. It was actually Korn. The bill was Korn, the Offspring, Pennywise at the LA Shrine
Oh, wow.
in like what 97 or something.
Yeah.
He-
97, 96.
He
I
totally
know.
went up to me. Can I change my
yeah,
answer?
Yeah, you could change it.
Well, Dave Matthews Band, for what it's worth, Dave Matthews Band,
They're good.
I grew up in
Yeah,
Charlottesville,
yeah.
Virginia, which is where they're from.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, their arranger was my brother's trumpet instructor from the age of 12.
Oh,
He
wow.
took him under his wing, actually. He was very talented from a young age, and so surprisingly enough, John Durth from the Dave Matthews Band was giving him private trumpet instructions from the age of 12.
Love
amazing.
it. So, what's your favorite group today?
Eve 6, obviously.
Ah, mine
I
too.
mean,
All of a sudden, it's
yeah.
mine too.
Yeah. You know.
So now I'm going to get down to the nitty gritty a little bit. When was the first time you came across, no pun intended, a Playboy magazine?
I was
You go
about
first, Sam.
yeah,
That was a
me
long
first.
pause.
I was waiting for him
That
to
was a long
go.
pause.
I was going to cheat off his paper.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, approximately 7 years old.
That's young.
I was at a friend's house, and there was a stack of magazines next to the toilet, and I looked over, and I saw a girl on it. Well, I like girls a lot now, and I liked them then.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'd like to take a look at this, and I open it. I go, oh.
Ooh.
So that was probably my longest visit to the bathroom.
Ever.
Ever. I'm
And
surprised I'm not still in there.
And the
Yeah.
most memorable, right?
It was.
We'll never forget that.
That is definitely true.
How about you, Max?
Yeah, I was at a friend's house. How old would I have been? 12 or 13, actually.
See, that's the average age I hear.
Okay.
You're a little young.
All right, you're making me feel pretty square over here.
Lame.
Yeah. No, like the classic really poor hiding place. You know, my friend's dad, like, you know, had like a shoebox or something in his closet, and we were just like, oh my
What's
God,
this?
just pouring through them. You know? Yeah.
So by now, I'm sure you've heard that Playboy is going PG. How do you feel
Yes.
about this?
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Why, I guess? Could I put that question back to you? What is the...
You know what it is? It's if somebody wants to see nudity, they could just Google it.
Sure.
Just go on their laptop. It's everywhere now.
Right. It's no longer, that was sort of the single shot for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hef was a groundbreaker in the 50s, and I feel like he's
Definitely.
groundbreaking again
Yeah.
by doing this.
I would trust his gut too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can hang out with you today, what would you guys do?
If Hef could?
If you guys were hanging out with Hef today,
Oh man.
where would you guys take him?
Go for a drive, listen to some rock and roll.
Yeah?
What does he listen to?
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll?
Good. Good answer.
Good answer. So, do you have a favorite playmate?
Oh man, I don't.
I'm going to
unfortunately.
give this news to you guys are the first ones to hear it from my mouth
Okay.
anyway. The last nude issue, guess who's going to be on the cover and in the centerfold?
Who's that?
You?
No. Pamela Anderson.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. This will be her 14th time. I believe she's done it 13 times, but, they're going out with a bang.
That's the perfect send-off.
Right? What do you think about that?
I think it's awesome.
Are you going to buy a few copies of those? One for
mean,
your, to hide away?
Yeah, to hide in a shoebox in the
Yeah,
closet.
yeah.
To definitely be found by future children.
Future generations?
Yeah. No, I mean, God, talk about it like a collector's edition. I mean,
Right?
That's
It
gonna
is.
be huge.
Yeah. We're already talking about it in the office. We're all going to stack up on those.
That's awesome.
How about you, Sam? How do you feel about Pamela? Are you a Pamela fan?
I like Pamela. My favorite playmate is Anna Sophia Berglund.
Oh, okay.
So I'd like to see her in that issue, but Pamela is
But Pamela's,
is a good choice as well.
It's a
Yeah.
good choice, right?
hmm
So please drop all your social media handles. So people out there listening, you answer your own social media, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So you up and coming racers, if you have any questions, Sam's your guy.
Twitter S Barnett Racing,
Uh-huh.
and Facebook and Instagram is Sam Barnett Racing.
Beautiful. How about you, Max?
At Max Collins Music for both Twitter and Instagram, and Facebook is just Max Collins.
So I'm definitely gonna look out for your new album. I'm so excited for it. And
Awesome.
you'll come back.
Yeah.
Bring Sam back with you so I can hear about that race car driving day that you guys are gonna do with your wife.
Definitely.
Because Max doesn't want to race.
Yeah.
But I need to come and race. Will you teach me, Sam?
Absolutely, love
Yeah?
to. Yeah. One
Yeah?
of my favorite things to do is actually take new drivers and teach them how to race. It's more fun for me to take someone that doesn't know how to do anything. Because
Right.
if someone's gone a few times, they have bad habits, it's much more difficult to
Then
change
I might
them.
be a good candidate.
Yeah, you might be
Absolutely.
a great
No,
candidate.
for
Me
sure.
too- Me too. I'm kind of crazy.
For
on the
sure,
road.
so we can go up to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in Salinas,
Yeah.
California,
Be awesome.
and we can take some cars
so,
out.
why is Mazda one of the best race cars? Can you school me on that? I mean,
Mazda gets it.
was that it?
They understand what the purpose of a race car is supposed to be. They understand what the purpose of driving is. Mazda doesn't try to be anything that they're not.
Okay.
They don't try to be the most luxurious car. They don't try to be the fastest car. they try to be the most sporty car because Mazda's vision is all about the feeling that you get from driving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's such a perfect fit for what we're trying to do here with music.
Right.
And they say there's the soul of a sports car in every vehicle that Mazda makes. And I have a Mazda CX-5 outside,
Do you?
a brand new 2016
Oh!
that I'm driving. And I can tell you right now that it feels very, very close to a sports car. And if we could easily take that on a racetrack, and we do that sometimes. We can take Mazda SUVs on the racetrack
Wow.
and give you the experience, you know, with a couple people at a time. And so really it's simplicity.
Simplicity.
You know, for example, the new 2016 Mazda MX-5 Miata
Uh-huh.
is all about the driving experience. It's as little intrusion as you could possibly have. It's as light as it can be. You know, it's got power, but it's not overwhelming power. It's just enough to where the engine doesn't overwhelm every other input, you know, that you have from the feelings. And, you know, they've just got it down to a science. They've got their niche, and they've mastered it as far as I'm concerned.
Well, hey, my next car, I'm gonna check out Mazda for sure. And you guys listening, gotta check out Mazdas. Like Sam's talking about, best race car out there that you can. Oh, actually, just period, driving car, but zippy. I like to drive zippy cars.
Yeah,
Fast.
when
loud
they
music.
yeah, for sure, when they
Led
turn
Zeppelin.
yeah, when they turn the race, they take a street car and convert it into a race car.
Yeah.
And for the MX-5 Miata, which is the #1 road race car in the world,
Mhm.
Wow.
they have to do very little
I
to
see.
change it.
No, one last question. What is NA, ND, and C? What explain that to me.
Very simple.
Okay.
The internal code at Mazda for Miata is N.
Okay.
I know that makes no sense,
'Cause
but
you
it's
think
N.
it's M.
You would
Okay.
think.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not M. Maybe it was taken on another car.
Okay.
And then it's generation. A, B, C, D is first, second, third, and fourth
Oh.
generation. So the car that just came out is a 4th gen, which is an ND.
Got it. Oh, that makes total sense. See, I'm learning something
It's
here.
everything's simple with Mazda.
Everything's
See?
simple with Mazda. I love Mazda. Well, this is Tricia Cruz with your Playboy Radio's Music Spotlight, and I just want to thank you again, Sam, Barnett, and Max Collins for coming into the Mini Mansion and talking to us here and schooling us on racing. We'd love to have you back someday, okay?
Glad to be here. Thanks.
Thanks so
Awesome.
much,
Thank
Tricia.
you.